Finally. Yeah. What's up, everybody, and welcome to your Monday. Welcome to your Monday. Oh, I see y'all trying it. I see y'all trying to gamble. Yeah, no, I knew that. I was ready for you today. It's today. I seen you. I seen it. What's up, everybody? Welcome. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys had a good weekend. I had a pretty chill weekend myself. Got some comic book stuff done. Got a couple of videos out. I think we had the one out on Friday, and then we had one out yesterday. A lot of fun stuff going on with Ahsoka. I got to spend a little time with family. It was pretty chill. It was a pretty chill weekend. Played a good bit of Baldur's Gate 3, too. Damn, that game is incredible. Are you guys playing Baldur's Gate 3? I look sunburnt? Really? That's crazy. Maybe I just don't go into the sun so much that now when I barely go out, I just get sunburnt. Is that a thing? Can that happen? Like, maybe I should be kept indoors at all time. And like when I go from one indoor place to another indoor place, maybe there should be like umbrellas. And I could hire some people to walk around me with umbrellas. You know, as I'm saying this and as I'm like going down this, as I'm going, what is going on with my glasses? What the fuck? As I'm going down this road, I'm thinking in my head here, I'm like, ooh, this is a bad joke. Because did you guys know that Hugh Jackman has like serious issues with his skin? That's why we don't have a sleeveless Wolverine when he was out shooting in the sun. Because like apparently he's really high susceptible to skin cancer or something like that. Did you guys hear about that? That's not good. So now I kind of feel bad about joking about it. Anyway, what's up, everybody? Hope you guys are doing well. Look, we've got a lot to get into today. Oh, please tell me that thing's plugged in. God damn it. It's okay. We're good. This is a professional show. I got to plug in the fan, though, because I'm already getting hot in here. Ah! Oh, God damn it. We're good. Professional show here. We're all... Everybody shut your mouth! Okay, look. So today we're going to talk about the strikes. The writer's strike, at the very least, seems like it is either over or it's pretty much over. So we'll talk about that. We'll go over what's going on. And then I want to kind of speculate about what this means for like Marvel, DC, and Star Wars, right? That's really what matters for us here. I know a lot of you guys feel differently about the strike. I watched quietly from the sidelines yesterday as Trinity and Chillin had a little spirited debate in the replies on one of my tweets yesterday. I was just kind of sitting back, watching it go down. I know you guys. Some of you guys feel differently about the strikes. There's a weird attitude out there about the strikes, with a lot of people being like, "Oh, screw these Hollywood people, these Hollywood writers, and all that sort of stuff." And you know, it is what it is. You guys are obviously free to have your opinion. But here's the thing. You're all fucking wrong. And everything... Oh, we're trying not to swear. You're all wrong. And here's the thing, okay? I was affected by the strike. Okay, not to make it all about me. But let's make it all about me for just a little bit. I was affected. Okay? If they're not writing, if they're not producing... I can't talk about all the cool leaks, and we can't talk about the news, and we didn't get fucking San Diego Comic-Con this year. Do you guys know that San Diego Comic-Con? Let me explain this. San Diego Comic-Con, for our channel, every year, is the biggest stream we do. It's the most hyped up we get about Marvel every year. And again, I'm not trying to make it all about me. But your boy was hurting, dude. I was over here fucking hurting. You guys don't understand. I'm trying to keep it chill this whole goddamn time. Thank God Ahsoka's actually cool and people like this shit. So, regardless of how you personally feel about the strike, it is good that it's over or seemingly over. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what it means for Marvel, Star Wars, and all of that stuff. Every time you swear, you got to give us 100 nerd coin. Ugh, that's tough. Didn't you say Marvel don't do scripts? Well, they do scripts, but their scripts are like, hey, make these scenes fit together. Write dialogue for this. Like, their process is very different than normal just, like, writing scripts and doing it. Which, yeah, that's a whole thing. Because Marvel has been moving behind the scenes. You know what I mean? But they can't really talk about it. A lot of the scoopers and the insiders, they're not supposed to talk about it. Even Star Wars, like Star Wars was making moves. Like I was watching one of those streams where Jason Ward was like talking about Star Wars stuff, and he literally said on one of his streams, "Oh, I've been being told stuff, and they're working on stuff. They're moving on it, but I can't say anything because of the strikes." Right? So like all the studios were kind of working on stuff anyway, but now that this is over, or at least going to be over very soon, we're going to get all that info. We're going to get all that stuff to be able to talk about. So we're going to talk about that today. I also want to talk about Dragon Ball Magic. How many of you guys know what Dragon Ball Magic is? Anybody? Anybody? Bueller? Anybody? Dragon Ball Magic? Anybody know? Dragon Ball Magic? Yeah, so this is a very, very divisive development when it comes to Dragon Ball and the future of the Dragon Ball franchise. So I want to talk about that a little bit because fans are going absolutely bananas, and that's kind of crazy. So I wanted to talk about that. Other than that, not too much going on. So I have actually a good bit of show notes. I want to talk to you guys about some stuff. But as far as Nerd Theory is concerned for tonight, I don't think we are doing Nerd Theory tonight. He's in Miami right now. I think he's leaving soon to get back, but it's like a long day of travel and whatnot for him. So I don't think we're going to be doing Nerd Theory tonight, okay? I will double check that with him later. But again, he's like traveling and stuff, so we'll see. But here's the deal. If there's no Nerd Theory, yeah, he confirmed. Okay, good. So no Nerd Theory, but what I'll do instead, I will go live tonight during the Nerd Theory time, so like 8 p.m. I will go live tonight, and we will talk about episode 7, and it will have spoilers. To be honest with you guys, unless some crazy stuff comes out today, there's not a lot of spoilers out there, but what is out there, I'm going to kind of try to consolidate, think about how it all fits together with where we think the story is going. So tonight at 8 p.m., we're going to dive deep on Ahsoka. We're going to talk a lot about what we expect in episode 7 and episode 8. And there's all kinds of cool stuff going on right now, man. I mean, we have Abeloth theory. Made a video about that. It's blowing up. Had a theory, or somebody found this crazy connection to the Zepho. I don't know if you all saw that, but that was awesome. So there's a big connection to the Zepho. We'll talk about that. There was even the most latest development. The most latest development is about Balin and the fact that he may or may not have a hit list with like Han, Luke, Leia, C-3PO, R2-D2, Luke, and Ben, who we assume is Ben Solo. That's nuts. So we'll talk about that tonight, ladies and gentlemen. So that's what you have on your schedule for today. I probably won't do a video. So like last week we did the leak video on Monday just to kind of like get you. Instead of doing that, I'm going to do a stream later tonight. Okay. So that's everything as far as today. Now, here's the deal. Nerdvengers. We are doing the meetup October 14th in, well, technically New Jersey, but next to New York City for New York Comic Con. Okay. The official sign-up sheet is available via Discord, But tomorrow at 11, we'll have a Nerdvenger stream, and we'll break down a little bit more about the meetup. We'll talk more about that and kind of get that all ironed out. So we'll do that tomorrow. But yeah, I'm starting to make plans, get a hotel, and kind of figure all that out. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see some of you guys hang out. It's going to be fun. If you can't go this year, we'll do something next year. We're going to do something next year and maybe even make it a little bit bigger. Maybe we'll put it in like Chicago or something, and we'll live it up pretty large next year. So if you can't make it this year, no worries. For those of you that can make it, I can't wait to see y'all. We're going to have a good night. It's going to be fun, okay? Next order of business. If you are a Unity supporter, okay, really, really cool stuff happening. I was talking to the team earlier this morning. We're setting up. We're pretty much ready to go. I believe the main illustrator, Stan, is beginning his work today. And so we just have like a lot of cool stuff. It was really fun talking to the guys this morning, getting excited, talking about the process, looking over the character sheets, et cetera, et cetera. So we're rocking and rolling on that. The other thing is, if you are a collector supporter, right? If you were one of those, I think we had 164 people that signed up at the collector tier. If you're one of those people, look out for an email invite to that Discord within the next couple of days. And on Thursday, guys, I want to do the first official town hall for all of the collectors. There's a lot of information I want to share with you guys. There's a lot of feedback I want to get from you guys. I have a couple of ideas of cool stuff we could do to kind of keep the hype going for Unity while the main team is working on the main book. But I want to go over all of that with you guys. Yes, so surveys went out. So fill out your survey. If you are a collector tier person, there's a question on the survey about where I'm sending your Discord invite. And look out for that. We're going to be trying to do that on Thursday. I'm really excited. And might have some cool new art to show you guys on Thursday as well, because the team is rocking and rolling, man. Everybody's really, really excited. So it's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. Is there anything else? Anything I missed? Anything else? I can't really think of anything. You got a size chart for the hoodies? I don't have a size chart. It's just like a standard American sizes, but there is a question on there for what size you want your hoodie to be. So go fill out your survey. And if you're not familiar with American sizes or whatever, there's probably some stuff on that you can find like via the internet for that. So, okay, everybody. Okay, now, when last we met our heroes, last week, the writers and the producers, like the studios, all met starting on Wednesday, I believe. And this was a little bit different than some of the other meetings because the CEOs themselves were there. So Zazie was there, Bob Iger was there, the Netflix guy was there, or whatever. And so they negotiated a ton on Wednesday. They negotiated a ton on Thursday. I believe they were negotiating a ton on Friday and trying to lock it up on Friday. But that didn't end up happening. And then they still went into negotiating on Saturday, which is pretty crazy. But, like, man, they just ironed out a lot and did a lot of negotiating over the weekend. And my understanding of this was that on Saturday they reached sort of a tentative deal, but they had to have the lawyers sort of craft the fine print, so to speak, to make sure that all the deliverables and all of everything was, like, in order, okay? So that's pretty much where we're at. But I thought it would be cool. I kind of want to watch at least part of Dan Murrell's video on this. Dan Murrell. A lot of you guys probably know Dan, right? If you don't, if you know Dan Murrell, throw a 1 into the chat. He was a part of Screen Junkies, I believe, for a while. Yeah. So Dan is, I think he's one of the best on YouTube for breaking down these sort of situations, and specifically with numbers. He's like a really good sort of numbers guy. So I thought it would be cool to watch his video about this, sort of react to it together. That way we can kind of get the info, give some feedback. and then go from there. So let me pause this. Let's watch what Dan has to say. And I believe, guys, there's nothing official out there yet. Chat, help me out here. There's nothing official out there yet about the actual deal. The details are supposed to come out sometime today. So if they do come out, perhaps we'll take a little look at that, okay? I love Dan's intro, too. Super, like, honestly jealous. That's a cool intro, man.
Hello, everybody.
Good vibes.
And welcome to some late-breaking news, literally, here on a Sunday night. I mentioned in my video earlier today that it looked like there might be a resolution that was close for the WGA strike, which has been going on for almost 150 days at this point.
That's
well,
crazy,
just
dude.
a few minutes ago, as I'm recording this video, it was announced that a tentative agreement has been reached between the AMPTP and the Writers Guild of America. Now, I say tentative agreement because the strike is not over. This is a tentative agreement which they have struggled to come to over these last many months. But there are still a number of steps that have to happen in order for the strike to officially be over, which we're going to cover. But let's talk about, first of all, the statement that was released by the Writers Guild of America. This was an email.
And so from what I understand, and we'll go, obviously the statement here will probably explain a lot of this, but I believe the WGA leadership has said that you don't have to picket. You can stop picketing today, but we're not technically done, so we're not like going back to work yet. But the you can stop picketing, and also certain shows that actually weren't a part of the strike technically can go back to writing. So there were a lot of shows and writers that weren't even WGA members, but sort of struck in solidarity or stopped working in solidarity. So my understanding is a lot of the night shows, the talk shows, can kind of go back to work almost immediately, even without the fine print and the details being ironed out. But let's see.
To their members. The WGA wrote, quote, "We have reached a tentative agreement on a new 2023 MBA, which is to say an agreement in principle on all deal points subject to drafting final contract language. We can say with great pride that this deal is exceptional with meaningful gains and protections for writers in every sector."
That's incredible language, dude. For them to say that is incredible language. And you know, we don't really know yet what the details are, but a lot of the scoopers and insiders were talking about how they got a great deal, which is pretty wild, because I was sitting here this whole time thinking, like, I just don't see how it happens. I don't see the leverage, et cetera, et cetera. But to the credit of the writers, they did drag this out as long as they possibly could. And I think they really did put the studios on their heels. Again, I know a lot of you guys feel differently about this, but this is like aggressive negotiations and whatnot. So, you know, to the credit of the writers, like, they really stood their ground, and I think they're going to be rewarded for that.
Of the membership. What remains now is for our staff to make sure everything we have agreed to is codified in final contract language. And though we are eager to share the details of what has been achieved with you, we cannot do that until the last I is dotted.
Yeah, that's fair.
To do so would complicate our ability to finish the job. So as you have been patient with us before, we ask you to be patient again one last time. Once the memorandum of agreement with the AMPTP is complete, the negotiating committee will vote on whether to recommend the agreement and send it on to the WGA West Board and WGA East Council for approval. If that authorization is approved, the board and council would also vote on whether to lift the restraining order and end the strike at a certain date and time to be determined pending ratification.
Okay.
This would allow writers to return to work during the ratification vote,
Sure,
but would not affect the membership's right to make a final determination on contract approval. Immediately after those leadership votes, which are tentatively scheduled for Tuesday, if the language is settled, we will provide a comprehensive summary of the deal points in the memorandum of agreement. We will also convene meetings where members will have the opportunity to learn more about and assess the deal before voting on ratification. To be clear, no one is to return to work until specifically authorized to by the Guild. We are still on strike until then, but we are, as of today, suspending WGA picketing. Instead, if you are able, we encourage you to join the SAG-AFTRA picket lines this week. So that's a
cool.
very dense statement. Some of it's self-explanatory, but let's break it down to really what it means, which is that the deal has been reached. Right now, they have to get the final language, and then it has to go through a number of steps. So let's look at what's next for this tentative agreement. As was stated in that email, first and foremost, the WGA has to finalize the language in that contract, that agreement that was reached with the AMPTP. Once that language is finalized, that agreement then gets approved by the WGA negotiating committee, the people that were in the room and have been in the room for these last several months. And then the leadership of the Writers Guild America West and the Writers Guild America East will then vote on whether they approve that agreement. Now, what was mentioned in that statement to members is that those two bodies will also consider whether or not they will allow writers to return to work pending ratification. So it takes a while, as you can imagine, for an entire union to ratify a deal. So what the Writers Guild may tell writers is that you can go back to work on a show that's not a struck project due to the SAG-AFTRA strike before everybody votes on this deal. That doesn't mean that you approve it. You still reserve the right to say no, but you can also get back to work. This would put people...
You know what I'm sort of curious about with this too? Because look, a lot of this is like legalese and everything, but like, as I was saying before, the studios were clearly moving on stuff. Like even behind the scenes, like creative decisions were being made, stuff was getting workshopped. So like if you're like Dave Filoni, right? Or even like James Gunn, you know, or let's say Steve Knight, right? Like, are you writing like today? Like, are you back at it like today? Or are you just kind of like waiting for this stuff to get ratified and whatnot? I don't really know. It's kind of interesting because I low-key think, like, if you're writing in the middle, nobody can like prove that you were writing. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, are they working on stuff? Have they been working on stuff? Like that to me is kind of interesting. You know? I think the strike is meant to make it so productions that require writers, which is most productions, because you want to have a writer on staff during production, during shooting, so that you could change things on the fly, look at things, whatever. So you want that availability. But it's really meant to like hurt just the pocketbooks of the studio, right? It's meant to just say like, look, dude, like you're losing money. You've got to come to the table. Otherwise, you're going to even lose more money. But things like Ahsoka season 2, right? That's not in any meaningful way in production. And probably even without the strikes, would not be in production until after this season had aired. So I just wonder, like, what is that like for some of those people at the top? But are they doing this and then just keeping it an exact secret or whatever? I don't know. It's just something that's on my mind.
People, for example,
and yes,
like
it's flannel season, John.
Back to work very quickly.
I love flannels.
They are not struck projects under the SAG-AFTRA contract.
Summer's
they
over.
Don't rely on actors to do it, not like a movie or a TV show.
It's flannel season.
You could see late night shows up probably as early as next week, as long as they approve the ability for these writers to go back to work before the final vote. And once the contract language is finalized and the negotiating committee approves, the WGA West approves, the WGA East approves, that's when they will set a time for the entire Writers Guild to vote on this contract. There will be meetings where they can ask questions, where members can decide if they want to say yes or if they want to say no.
Yo, strangely. And again, I'm not trying to like talk shit or whatever, but did you guys know that during this strike they had a vote for the WGA leadership and like less than 30% of members even voted in it? Like, that's crazy to me. Like, they're in the middle of the most important strike of their lives, and less than 30% of them voted on leadership? All right.
No, there's usually...
I just say that because I'm like, what? I wonder how many of them are even going to vote on this. Like, they did all this striking, right? All of this effort, which, you know, again, I applaud. But it's like, at the end of it, it's going to come down to a vote. Are they even going to vote, bro? Like, it's just so weird.
A period of voting, 48 hours or so, where everybody can vote. Now, technically, if this deal is not as advertised and the writers look at it and they say, no, we don't agree with that, they can vote not to ratify, which would basically hit the reset button on this whole thing.
That
You
would
have
be
to go
crazy.
back into contract negotiations. It certainly sounds like the studio, I mean, look at how long it took the studios to get where they are right now. So that would be a devastating blow. And it is very rare. I haven't done the research, but I think you would have to go back very far in the entertainment industry to find a time where a union did not ratify an agreement that their negotiating committee struck. So I would say the
Probably
chance
because
is very
they all don't even vote. Probably why, but
small that the Writers Guild membership would not as a whole ratify this contract, but it is still a possibility if for some reason something
watch it be the one time they all actually show up to vote and they're like, nah, fuck this. That'd be crazy.
crazy went on in the negotiating room and there was something that wasn't addressed. However, in that statement from the WGA, they said that a deal was reached on all points of their negotiations, which includes minimum staffing, which includes AI, which includes streaming residuals. Now, we won't know exactly what's in this deal probably until Tuesday. At least that's what they're saying once the leadership takes a look at the deal points, etc. Of course, these things do leak out, so you never exactly know when we're going to have a look at it. And of course, once we know what's actually in this deal, I will have an extensive look at what the writers actually got, what they were negotiating.
Yeah, and I highly recommend checking out Dan's channel. He does great work, and he'll be the first person that I go to when the deal's actually official. When his video comes out, it'll be the best way to get the info.
For what they wanted at the beginning, what they wanted in the middle, when everything started to break down. So that's going to be a much more convoluted video. This video is really more of an announcement, perhaps a celebration of the fact that it seems that a deal has been struck. The Writers Guild seems very excited by it, but of course they were the ones in the room that were negotiating it, so you would think that they would be excited by it. The only thing we don't know yet is what's in the deal, and whether the writers themselves are going to feel as enthused as their leadership seems to be. And one big question that remains and was apparently a negotiating point as late as today between the AMPTP and the Writers Guild of America concerns the SAG-AFTRA strike. Because remember, the actors are still on strike, and the Writers Guild reportedly wanted there to be a provision in the agreement that said that Writers Guild members would not return to work on any project that was still on strike from actors. So basically any movie, any TV show, anything that actors can't work on, the Writers Guild was seeking basically a prohibition of their members from going back to work on those projects, which of course would for once actually kind of put the studios in a tough spot, because you would have writers ready to go and able to work and just waiting on them to strike a deal with the actors. So I think what we will see here, if this deal doesn't completely fall apart, is that this will provide a framework now for SAG-AFTRA and the AMPTP to sit down and actually start negotiating. And my theory was that this was going to happen right around the end of the month, right around the end of September. I was telling some friends of mine, because you were reading that the real pain point for the studio would have been October 1st, when you start losing the entire fall TV season, when things really get pushed off the calendar. The only thing you can hope from here is that this is a good deal, that the actors also like it, and that we see some real progress in the next week or 2 weeks, and that everybody will be off the picket line soon. So that's what we know right now.
So it's kind of interesting, I'm so curious, like, what do you guys, like, it seemed like the strategy from the studios initially was to work out a good deal with SAG, and I think, like, my perspective on it early on was that the studios they wanted to sort of cut the legs from under the writers, and if they had struck a great deal with SAG, that would have been solid. They did that with the directors, right? So they got a good deal with the directors. The directors end up signing a new deal. They don't, go with the strikes, but SAG did, and it is interesting and curious, right? Like, going into October, and he's talking about the fall season and all these sort of things. It's interesting that they would like iron it out with the writers. It seems like basically what it seemed like to me was that the studios were like, bro, screw these writers. Here's what we'll offer. They're being ridiculous. Like, do you guys remember when Bob Iger came out and said they're being unrealistic or whatever? He's like, no, they're being unrealistic, right? And it just seemed like we were never close to a deal with the writers. It seemed like a deal with SAG was far easier, would potentially be far easier for the studios to do. And then it seems like kind of all at once, the CEOs and everybody basically get together and like, okay, we need to iron this out. And they do like 4 or 5 days of like hard negotiating. I mean, there were days that they negotiated for like 8+ hours. That's insane. I don't usually do anything for 8+ hours. Like, I'm ADD, but like I just can't imagine that. Like just being in there, ironing it out, talking about the concerns, looking at what they could possibly do. You know, like just over and over and over again. It just seems so absurd that they knocked this thing out in like 5 days. And they probably now go to work on, SAG. And I feel like SAG is going to be a much easier one for them to figure out. It's kind of interesting how it all ended up shaking out. I'm kind of surprised that it went down this way. But at the end of the day, that's the info. That's what's probably going to happen. And I expect, and I think a lot of people expect, that the totality of the strikes will be over soon. That like SAG is going to sign a deal, relatively soon, because it seems like the studios are like, we need to get everybody back to work ASAP. So that's kind of what I think is going on. Now, as far as for us, right? For us nerds. Like, what does this mean? Like, what does this even mean, right? Like, what's going to happen? Well, like I said, I think all of these companies, including DC, Star Wars, Marvel, I think all of these studios have been working on stuff. They might not, want to admit it or whatever. They might not have technically been working with writers or whatnot, but I think that it definitely happened. So let's start with DC just because I think it's the simplest one, right? DC is going to get back to ironing out scripts and really, looking into how this is all going. James Gunn said that Superman Legacy was finished, but I would imagine he's going to do more work on that, kind of tightening that up. And I think the next big thing will be getting some actual writers signed on and maybe directors as well for these other big movies. So if the Authority is actually real and they're actually going to do the Authority, they need to figure that out and get the writer attached, get the director attached. So that's probably what I would expect to see with DC. This essentially just means that production on Superman Legacy, I don't believe will be that affected by this. I think it'll be fine. I think that from what I understand, Creature Commandos, which, like, dude, I don't know. You got to show me something with Creature Commandos. I don't really care about Creature Commandos. But apparently Creature Commandos is supposedly ready to go, and they could just do that next year. Probably get to recording that very soon. So you could see that come out next year sometime. I don't really know what happened with Joker 2, but that's likely now good to go. The Batman 2 isn't even supposed to come out until, like, what did they say, like 2026, 2027? So the Batman with Matt Reeves, I think, is probably still going to be delayed for a while. But the main thing is, if Gunn is working on more stuff for like Superman and just the DCU in general, I think we'll be getting a lot more of that info sort of leaking out and coming out. So that's basically all we really know with regards to DC. Now let's talk Star Wars. So Star Wars is in a really interesting spot, okay? Right before Star Wars Celebration, maybe less than a month before Star Wars Celebration, Kathleen Kennedy fires, for all intents and purposes, Damon Lindelof. Okay? Now, Damon Lindelof had been developing a Rey movie for over a year. He had a writer's room. Apparently, Filoni was a part of that writer's room, and they were working that out. And about 4 days before he gets fired, he turned in his draft. Okay? And then Steve Knight is essentially put on the project pretty much immediately. And I'm actually not sure. Did they even mention Steve Knight at Star Wars Celebration earlier this year? Chat, double check me on that. I'm not sure why or when that all happened. But the main point is this. Depending on how much they're going to take from Lindelof's script, you don't think so? Okay. So depending on how much they take from Lindelof's script, there's a ton ton of work to do on that Rey movie, like a ton. So some of the stuff that's leaked out is like in Lindelof's script, Rey was going to be like 70 years old. She was going to be played by not Daisy Ridley, and it was going to be Rey in her much older years. Okay, and the one thing they did, this just shows you, like, and it's Hollywood. It's you know, it's like pop culture stuff, so it just is what it is. I'm not trying to go super hard on Kathy or whatever, but I consider that they bring Daisy Ridley out on stage at Star Wars Celebration, and they had a movie script that didn't even include her in it. They fire the guy, hire a different guy, and announce Daisy before anything is really figured out, okay? So, like, that's what it is. Now, that's not to say they can't figure it out or whatever, but, like, Steve Knight has to write a whole different movie, dude. And, look, you know, we've been saying it. We've been talking about it. David Goyer, we even watched a little bit of the interview on Friday where he's just talking about how ridiculous Lucasfilm is. It's the worst kept secret in town. Lucasfilm is a ridiculous company. Kathleen Kennedy is very hard to work with. So I don't even know if Steve Knight will be the final name written by for that movie, right? So they're in a really interesting spot with that. Now, as far as Skeleton Crew and Acolyte, I think they're further along. I think Skeleton Crew still needs a lot of work. Okay, I'm not 100% sure on that. That's just kind of the impression I got from people when I was talking to them about it. It seems like that still probably needs a lot of work, but as soon as all of the strikes are over, they can get back to work in earnest, right? So this is like rewrites, rights, you know, shooting, etc. So you probably get Skeleton Crew back into production. You probably finish off the Acolyte with whatever it had to do. And it seems like both of those projects probably be ready sometime next year. You know, it's going to be up to Lucasfilm as far as what do they do. Now, another one of the things we heard was this was a Jason Ward thing, but he said that the creatives, like probably like Dave and the writers and, you know, maybe John and some of the other directors, they don't even love the idea of doing this movie. They want to do more seasons because they have more story to tell. And Dave definitely wanted to do a season 2 of Ahsoka, okay? So, you know, it seems like Ahsoka season 2 is probably a no-brainer, right? But given how long the strike lasted, I don't know. I personally think they maybe rework that and just go right into Filoni's movie. Okay? So I don't know. I mean, Lucasfilm has a lot of decisions to make because they have this mangled Star Wars movie, which appears to be the old David Goyer movie, which was maybe the Dan and Dave movie. It seems like Lucasfilm's been trying to tell this Origin of the Jedi movie forever. And that's the way that's going, okay? But we just got some really interesting updates. According to Can We Get Some Toast, at least I think it was Toast, the Patty Jenkins movie and the Taika Waititi movie are 100% dead. Now, what they said was the reason those movies are dead is because Kathleen Kennedy is done. And she will actually be done sooner than you thought. Let me just try to pull this shit up here. Let's pull this up for you guys. Where's it at here? Where's it at here, bro? I know it's in here, bro. I know they were talking about it, bro. Aw, man, I gotta find it on tweeters. I gotta actually find it on the tweeters. Wait, people are tagging me and shit? Am I missing something here? Can we get some toast? Let me see if I can find this. Okay, yeah, here we go. Check it out. So first, it was my time to shine. Hello, Toast's alt account that said, sources confirm Taika Waititi's Star Wars movie is dead. Lucasfilm Waititi himself won't admit it, but it'll never be made. Well, congratulations, us. You know? Like, shout out to us. Because, didn't want that shit to happen, so I'm glad it's not. And then we get Toast, or my time on their alt account, saying, don't believe for a second that it's due to the downfall of Taika Waititi. It's just that once Kathleen Kennedy's tenure as the head of Lucasfilm is over, which is sooner than you think. By the way, what does that mean, sooner than we think? Because we've been thinking that she's gone for years. What does that even mean? Which is sooner than you think. I don't know, bitch. I thought it was after Indiana Jones. It bombed. Why isn't she gone? Sooner than you think. That would have been years ago. The new head will want to stay as far as possible away from the mess that Kathy created. Disney knows this. Consider Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron to be dead as well. Now, this actually does make sense and it tracks. When you have a studio head like Kathy and her tenure's over, the person coming in does not want to just come in and then do all of Kathy's stuff. Okay? So this would be like you get a new head coach and the head coach just takes the same playbook that the old coach had and uses that. Well, what? That doesn't even make sense. Why would you do that? The new coach is there to make a new system, a new playbook. Right? And so the person that's going to replace Kathleen Kennedy, which, dude, we have no idea. I don't think it's Dave Filoni, by the way. Whoever this person is very likely to want nothing to do with a lot of the projects that Kathy spoke about. I'm going to tell you something right now. I wouldn't be surprised if all 3 of the movies that were announced at Celebration this year are taken off of the slate. Which, I mean, to be fair, the only one that I really care about is Filoni and the Filoni movie. Especially considering how good Ahsoka has gotten. It's like, damn, dude, Ahsoka's really, really fire. But consider that Dave doesn't even want to do the movie next. He wants to keep doing the show, right? So I don't really know. It's going to be really interesting to see how this all shakes out. But a lot of the projects that were happening under Kathy, I do think will be abandoned. Okay? So I think, I mean, look, the thing that I'm really hoping for, and yes, it would be an absolute shame if they did this for Daisy Ridley. Like, my heart bleeds for Daisy Ridley. But we cannot do a Rey movie. Like, and we could probably survive a Rey movie, but don't make a Rey movie. Like, if I got that job, I'd be like, oh yeah, no way. Sorry, no Rey. No way, no Rey. I would put that up. I might have that up on the building as you enter it. Print a printout in black and white because we're saving money on the ink. You feel me? But you come in every day and you slap that sign. No way, no Rey. Sorry. Next up, James Mangold. Nah, just go do Swamp Thing. God bless. Get the fuck out of my office. God bless. Go do Swamp Thing. By the way, that's crazy to say because I really like James Mangold. Respect his filmography. But you got too close to the toxic queen herself, Kathy. Your project was greenlit before you delivered one of the biggest bombs in the history of Hollywood. No thank you. Good luck with James Gunn and Swamp Thing. So, done. I would tell Dave, we're not going to make your Heir to the Empire movie. Go ahead. Let it out. Get angry. Get upset. We're not going to make... Dave, Dave, what's up? Welcome. Yeah, good job. It's Ahsoka. It's real cool. Here's the thing, though. We're not going to make your Heir to the Empire movie. Because you're going to write and direct the next trilogy. Episode 10, 11, and 12. Boom. That's what it is. That's what it is. Yep. So, you can finish out Ahsoka. You could do your Heir to the Empire story on Disney Plus. And then you're going to write and direct episodes 10, 11, and 12. That's what I would do. 7, 8, 9. Nice. So that's what I would do. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with this. I do think it's pretty interesting. They're talking about the fact that Kennedy's 10 years over. This is industry talk, and it makes sense to me. Nobody's going to want to come in and just carry water for Kathleen Kennedy. Now, Kathy will want her name as executive producer on a lot of stuff, and she'll probably get that. It'll be in her walk-away package, and she'll get her name on stuff probably for a long time to come on Star Wars. It just is what it is. But what matters is something new. And it's just obvious to me. The movie's right there. Another trilogy. I never loved this idea that Kathy had of like, well, we don't do trilogies anymore. You know what I mean? I never liked that. I think that that's what Star Wars should be. And in fact, I'm kind of the mind, even though I love Rogue One, I'm of the mind that, like, don't ever make another Star Wars movie unless it's got episode something in front of it again. Like, that's where I'm at. I don't think you do that. Maybe that's what Disney Plus is for. So, no Lando movie, unless it's going straight to streaming. No Patty Jenkins movie. None of that. Episodic. It's episodic. That's what I would do. Okay? But I think when it comes to Star Wars, they've got a lot of decisions to make. But if this is true, right? If what Toast is saying is true here, then I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of shakeup, a lot of things changing. We'll just have to wait and see. You know what I mean? We'll just have to wait and see. Now, when it comes to Marvel, oh, man. I mean, Marvel's got a lot of stuff to do. I think we're probably going to have more leaks and rumors when it comes to Marvel in the next couple of months than we've maybe ever had. Ever. Period. Ever. Because Marvel's been changing a lot of stuff behind the scenes. Marvel got rid of both the Rick and Morty writers, supposedly, before the strike was even over. They are reworking their entire slate. So there's going to be a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff that's coming out from Marvel. And, that's going to be great. I mean, that's going to be great for us. It's going to be exciting to see. We'll be talking about it a lot. I wonder if Feige will try to do some kind of an announcement by the end of the year. As we've talked about many times, the hype is a really important part of the Marvel machine. The hype, it really does keep the lifeblood flowing over there. And they didn't have any hype up moment this year, right? So when everything gets back, maybe by December 10th for the investor call or something, maybe we do get some announcements about some cool projects coming up. I'm not really sure. But I would expect a metric ton of leaks and rumors when it comes to all of these different projects as we head towards, Secret Wars and all of that. So that's kind of what I got for you with Marvel. It's too complicated to go into each individual project. I mean, they're reworking Armor Wars to make it match up, or they're reworking Ironheart to make it match up with Armor Wars. So they're like totally reworking that. They're working Planet Hulk. They're working Young Avengers. They're working, you know, the TVA and all the heroes that they're going after. They're working a lot of stuff, man. So we're gonna get a ton of stuff out there when it comes to Marvel, and that's gonna be really, really cool. But I can't really go into any details because it's just so damn much. So, out of the three of them, you know, which one do I think is gonna actually find their way? Star Wars has a unique opportunity here to just throw everything at the Dave Filoni fire. You know what I mean? Like, just give everything to Dave, and I think that they're going to be just fine. Like, I really do believe that. Like, even though there are people out there that are, like, complaining about Ahsoka, even though there's a lot of, like, loud people, like, you know, we've just seen the Nielsen numbers. The first week wasn't even bad. It came right under Kenobi, and Disney Plus has not had something in the top 5 of the originals chart in a long time. So, like, Ahsoka, even when we thought it wasn't doing well, is doing way better than we thought. And by the end of it, I think it's going to be considered a hit. I really do. I think the numbers are just crazy for Ahsoka these last couple of weeks, and they're going to continue to be. So Ahsoka seems like a big hit for them, and that's great. And if they just go all in with Dave, I think they're going to be just fine. Marvel's a whole mess. We'll see how Marvel figures it out. They've got some good stuff planned, but the problem is they have a bunch of crap. You know what I mean? Like, they have a bunch of crap that they're going to make us watch, and we'll see. We'll see how people deal with that as the fans. DC's in an interesting spot. Hard to say, you know, how that will go, but they have kind of like a clean slate in some ways. The one thing I will say about DC is that My Time to Shine continues to say that Gal Gadot is going to remain as Wonder Woman in James Gunn's DCU. So, I hate it, and it's obviously just bullshit that he did this soft reboot and just happened to take away, like, Cavill and Affleck and, you know, things that I thought were dope. So I think he's got his work cut out for him with the fan base, but winning cures everything. If the movie itself is dope, like if Superman Legacy is absolutely fire, then I think they hit the ground running, and it's great. And it's really important for them. But if not, I mean, it'll just be what it is. And I'm not even that worried about it, because it's not like we covered DC a ton. You know what I mean? I would love to cover DC more if they weren't just so awful. So, yeah, there's some hope for them, but all of them have a lot of work to do. You know? They've been given a weird moment to be able to reflect. Out of all of three of them, I think Marvel Studios, I give them the best score or whatever, because I think that they are a company that was already reflecting. They were a company that was already working on going in a new direction. And, yeah, that's they were already on it. They just got a little extra time to try to figure that out. Star Wars has no idea what they're doing, other than Dave. And James Gunn knows what he's doing, but also isn't telling the truth about what he's doing. And I think it's going to piss some people off. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Now, a couple other things I want to talk about. Maybe we should shift for a second here and talk about Bob Iger saying he's going away from the culture war. Did you guys see this? Did you guys see this? I wonder if they have the actual clip here. Is this the actual clip? This might be the actual clip. Hang on now. Okay. Let's watch this. I am fascinated by this. Fascinated by this. See what he says.
Will Disney stay out of making political statements?
You know, I think there's a misperception here about what politics is. And I think that some of the subjects that have proven to be controversial as it relates to Disney have been branded political, and I don't necessarily believe they are. I don't think when you are telling stories and attempting to be a good citizen of the world that that's political. Just not how I view it. Do I like the company being embroiled in
this is
controversy?
older.
Of course not. It can be distracting, and it can have a negative impact on
Unless
the
it's a
company.
boilerplate.
And to the extent that I can work to kind of quiet things down, I'm going to do that. But I think it's important to put in perspective what some of these subjects are and not just simply brand them political.
Here's a virtual question. Many cast members.
Is that really what he said? Because he said a version of this before. Quiet down the culture wars with respect to the audience. Okay, so let's just read into this. Okay, so this is kind of a boilerplate because we've heard him say this before. Newly reinstated, Iger said, wait, when was this from? What is this article? November. Okay, so yeah, this is an older article. Okay, does anybody, let me ask you this. Are there any new developments with regards to this, or is this just old stuff coming back up? Because I saw this all over Twitter over the weekend. Like, am I missing something, or is this just literally his old comments that are being just kind of recycled? This is from 3 days ago.
Now, as Wall Street is in wait-and-watch mode in the run-up to...
Interesting. Okay, this is from 3 days ago. But there's no, like, actual commentary here. I gotta be missing something. Vows to quiet the noise in the culture war. But that was, like, last year. Wrote a release Wednesday that Iger told investors the day... Okay, so this is from... Bob. Okay, CEO Bob Iger is promising to lower the temperature after the company stepped deep into culture wars under his predecessor and angered many conservatives, according to the analyst note from this week. Needham and Company analyst Laura Martin wrote in a report released Wednesday that Iger told investors the day before that his primary goal is to quiet the noise because culture wars are bad for business. That message was one of Needham's key takeaways from Disney's 120-person investor event at Walt Disney World in Orlando on Tuesday. Okay, so this is where the news is coming from. When the company announced plans to nearly double its investment in amusement parks and cruises to $60 billion. By the way, Wall Street didn't like that. The stock actually took a hit after they announced that, which was interesting. Iger's vow comes after Disney has been embroiled in a number of controversies, blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so this is something he potentially said behind doors, but a lot of investors are actually signaling that and talking about it. Now, I think the reason I wanted to bring this up was, number one, because you guys are going to go nuts and chat over it and fight each other, and I always like to watch that. Violence! But the other reason is, like, I've been saying this for a long time, and I think this is one of the reasons that people misconstrue my stances on things, and I think this is one of those situations where a lot of people don't necessarily understand what I'm saying. So, like, when I say I wish they would stop doing stuff like this and I wish they would go a little less loud with a lot of the culture war stuff, a lot of people think what I'm saying is that, like, I think all woke things are really bad, or like I'm this person that's hardly on the right side of things, and I'm yelling at all this sort of stuff, and I'm like and that's just simply not true. I'm like more so saying that Disney and a lot of these companies specifically, they don't realize that even when it comes to these culture war issues, they're really just out of touch. They're like 10 years behind the times, and the language they use and the perspective they have is fucking cringe. You know what I mean? And it gives ammunition to a lot of people that are like Disney detractors or culture war grifters or whatever. So, like, the more that Disney is boneheaded about this stuff, the more it sort of creates the narrative that they're this super woke company, that they're doing all these things, agenda this, agenda that. Now, what's interesting is I watched on Twitter a lot of people react to this. And what I thought, honestly, would be something that a lot of, let's say, like moderate or, conservative people would cheer and applaud, didn't really cheer or applaud it, right? They were like, well, this just means they're going to go underground with it, or, oh, they say this, but it's years too late, or whatever, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's so funny. I think that's so silly, you know? Because at the end of the day, like, if you weren't a grifter and you actually cared about just the messaging going away or not having, be inundated and having all these people be inundated, you'd probably applaud this. And you'd probably be very excited that Disney is doing this. I'm actually applauding this. I'm actually excited that Disney is doing this because they're creating barriers to entry with a lot of stuff that, frankly, they don't even understand. And they're doing it in a way that's really making the discourse around these properties very toxic and very gross. Right? So I am sitting here and I wanted to talk about this. I wanted to bring this up because I think it's actually a good thing. Because if it functions the way I think it'll function, it just means less bullshit. Less of us talking about this, that, second, and the third, and more focus on the actual product. One of the reasons that covering Ahsoka has been so pleasant is because we're not talking about fucking Reva, or we're not talking about lady at Celebration talking about the patriarchy. You know what I mean? We're not talking about that. We're talking about Balin, what's calling. You know, we're talking about the myth, the lore, the thing, right? And so for me personally, you know, don't be so message heavy and just make really good content that's actually designed to be 4-quadrant. I think there needs to be a PR push here too, because one of the unfortunate realities is like when you have, I always talk about this, and I hope Jay doesn't mind that I'm talking about this, but just for a little TLDR, let me explain to you, kind of try to nail this point down, okay? So, you guys know Drunk 3PO? Jay? You guys know this guy? You heard of this guy? You know this guy? Do you know how Jay got started as basically a fandom menace, like G&G type person? Okay. So, like, Jay is literally just on Twitter. I think he was like nobody at that point. You know what I mean? And he was just like talking about something to do with either The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi, okay? And I don't remember who it was. I don't think it was Pablo, but it was one of these Lucasfilm people. They retweet him or something like that, and they're like, look, another one of these people, and basically said he was a bigot, okay? And that caused Jay to get sort of dogpiled by a bunch of people that were like, oh, we hate bigots, you know what I mean? And like, you know, just dogpiled him. It was innocuous. He was just speaking his opinion. But what that did was it caused Jay to find all of these other people that were also being scorned for wrong think and all of these different things. And that created the energy behind the fandom menace, G&G, all these different things. The point is, it was because of a bunch of buttholes that worked at Lucasfilm that used the platform to ostracize people because of differences of opinion that actually caused the division that we still feel to this day within the Star Wars fandom. Like, Disney fucked that up, okay? And one of the reasons they did is because they didn't go correct these people. They didn't give them proper PR training, and they didn't, like, do anything to kind of quell the narrative. Now, years later, they actually would do that when it came to the writer homie who did Chuck Wendig, I believe. Yeah. So years later, Chuck Wendig was actually doing that same kind of stuff, and they fired his ass, dude. You know, a lot of people get mad because they fired Gina, and I agree. I think firing Gina was out of pocket. It was messed up, and I don't think they should have done it. But everybody forgets they did the same thing to Chuck Wendig. They fired his ass too because he was being too flagrant with his opinion, and he was on the left. So they got one that was on the right, and they got one that was on the left. They actually like did that, but they're still pretty terrible at like actually having good PR strategy, having like a line to walk, having a good rhetoric for how to talk about these issues so that no fan feels like they're targeting them, etc., etc. So at the end of the day, I think a lot of damage was done. And look, I mean, Iger wants to pretend it was Chapek. It wasn't Chapek. It was Iger. It was the whole regime over there, because a lot of this happened during the very early years of Star Wars. But the point is, if Disney actually does this, and they actually quiet the rhetoric, and they actually stop engaging in culture war activities, that's going to be good for the brand. Okay? And if you see some people that have been telling you for years that this is what they want, turning now and saying that it's meaningless, that's just not an honest person. You know what I mean? So again, unless you're grifting, this kind of change is something you've been wanting. This is your W. But if you need it to not be a W so you can continue to shit on them, you know what I mean? I'm just saying, the reason I wanted to bring it up is because a lot of y'all watch me because I'm just real. I say what I think, you know, I'm very authentic. Sometimes it hurts me, you know what I mean? But I'm going to tell you, real talk, this is actually a great sign, and watch how many people just ignore this shit and try to find a new way to grift. That's what it is. Okay? Okay, next up, I want to talk about Dragon Ball Magic. Let's talk a little bit about Dragon Ball Magic. How many of y'all are Dragon Ball fans? Throw a 1 into the chat if you're a Dragon Ball fan. Throw it in there! Dragon Ball fans? Yeah! Of course, man. Dragon Ball's the fucking best, dude. It's absolutely incredible. Love Dragon Ball. Okay, so for a long, long time, people have been wondering, where's the next Dragon Ball anime? I mean, it's one of the most popular mangas of all time, one of the most popular and profitable IPs ever. And yet, we haven't had a Dragon Ball anime in 6 or 7 years. I don't know exactly when Super stopped airing, but it's like over 6 years ago now, guys. That's crazy, okay? So a lot of fans have been asking, like, is the Dragon Ball Super anime coming back? What's going on with Dragon Ball? When are we getting more Dragon Ball? More movies or whatever? Okay. So over the weekend, Geekdom and I believe some other people actually leaked this out, like right around the same time, and maybe even before Danny. They leaked out what the next Dragon Ball anime is going to be. Okay. So when I tell you this split the Dragon Ball fandom right in half, like, wow, wee-wah, this is an incredibly controversial subject. So, the next Dragon Ball anime is going to be called Dragon Ball Magic. Really weird name. It is apparently not going to air on Fuji TV. It's not going to air anywhere on the broadcast system of television in Japan. Probably not anywhere else around the world either. It is instead going to go out on streaming. So this is one of the first sort of... it's them getting into streaming, and really making something intentionally for streaming. It's like the Japanese really don't do this. It's kind of interesting in a lot of different ways. It is apparently going to bring back some of the OGs from old Dragon Ball animation and GT animation. Toriyama is going to be heavily involved. Okay. And on the positive side, a lot of people are excited because the animation is probably going to be incredible. And they're bringing back a lot of OGs. Okay. But here's why people are pissed. And honestly, and I don't even know if I should say this, but Danny told me about this a while ago, but I had to kind of keep my mouth shut. It's Goku and Supreme Kai both being turned into kids and adventuring together to try to find either like some demon or some wizard person that turned them into kids. Yeah, so it's like Yeah, so it's like GT. They're taking a lot of the ideas of GT and they're putting it into this, but with Supreme Kai. Yeah. So, and actually, it's kind of interesting. They're going to do a big panel at New York Comic Con. I think it's on the 14th of October. That's Saturday. And I haven't even decided if I'm actually going to go to the Comic Con. I'm definitely going to be around because I'm going to be going to the meetup. But I don't even know if I'm going to go to the Comic Con. But if I do, I'm going to try to get into this panel because I think we're going to talk about it that Saturday. Okay? But the Dragon Ball community is very split on this. Very split. So, you know, I watched Danny's breakdown. I watched a lot of other people talk about it. Twitter, bro, when it first broke, the Dragon Ball fandom on Twitter was going crazy. They were saying it was bullshit. They were saying there's no way. They were saying Danny's a liar, all these different things. They couldn't accept that this is actually the plan. They're pretty upset. And it's going to be pretty slice of life. Okay, it's going to be pretty slice of life. You know, I watched Quaman. Dude, I watched Quaman's video about it. And he was shitting on it hard, bro. Like, he was, like, really upset and let down by it. So I think this is my take on it, right? Here's my take on it. Dragon Ball itself and like Toriyama and like the incredible manga, that is actually like Dragon Ball kind of became something different than what Akira even was doing, because Dragon Ball Z is one of the most popular shows of all time. And Dragon Ball Z wasn't even really getting, like, Toriyama wasn't even really looking over scripts for that. He damn sure wasn't helping them with the dubbing, right? So what a lot of people in the West or whatever, their perception of what Dragon Ball is like different than what Akira thinks Dragon Ball is. What the Japanese think Dragon Ball is. Like, Dragon Ball is slice of life. Like, it's a slice of life, bombastic, fighting anime. Okay? And I think instead of your regularly scheduled, like, let's continue Super, like, let's keep doing more forms, let's keep doing, like, all of these things that, again, a lot of Dragon Ball fans, like, they definitely want that shit. This, to me, feels like Akira Toriyama maybe looking at the state of anime and manga right now and wanting to like really revitalize the brand in some way and like take Dragon Ball back to its roots. Right? So I love Supreme Kai. I think Supreme Kai is a really fun character. He's the one with like the crazy mohawk and he had the sword that he was, you know, training Gohan and all that sort of stuff. So I really like Supreme Kai. I'm excited to get more Supreme Kai in general. And I like young Goku. It's like, you know, a lot of people are saying, well, it's the 20-year anniversary of the original Dragon Ball anime coming out. And so, you know, that feels right to have younger Goku once again. So yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see how fans react to it, but I'll do a little poll here and see if you guys like this. Are you down for Dragon Ball Magic as I just described it? Are you down? That's what I want to know. What do you think? Damn, bro. Damn, bro. Look at those numbers. Sheesh. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, we'll let it shake out a little bit. We'll let it shake out a little bit. Here's what's crazy though. Like, the Dragon Ball fans have been waiting for Super to come back. They've been waiting for new stuff for a long, long time. I mean, we'll see. We'll see how the fan base reacts to this. I'm excited, man. I feel like more Dragon Ball is great. Akira coming back in a more prominent role is fantastic. So I'm excited for it, man. I'm excited for it. I'm excited to check it out, but we'll see. All right, guys, let's get into the Q and the A's. We'll go over some member chats, some super chats and whatnot, and we'll hang out in the chat. As a reminder, guys, no Nerd Theory tonight, but I will be live at 8 p.m. tonight, and we're going into the rumors, the leaks, the speculation when it comes to Ahsoka Episode 7. I'm incredibly excited for it. So we'll be doing that tonight at 8. Nerd Avengers, we're going to stream tomorrow at 11. We're going to talk about the meetup a little bit more. Unity. Look out for your surveys. And Thursday, we should be doing another... Let me just check something here. Okay, yeah, we're good on that. On Thursday, we're going to have our first town hall for all the collectors about Unity. We'll go over some stuff. Yeah, the team's working on the art right now. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. All right, here we go. Where are we at here? Okay, first in today was the Winter Soldier. Welcome back to the Nerd Vengers, baby. You are a Nerd Venger now. Jordan upgraded to the Prime membership. Appreciate you, bro. Is this the last Sunday of the month coming up here? Oh my God, it is. So we will have our Prime stream this Sunday. Got a lot of stuff to go over. It's going to be really cool. Jedi Joe says, did this work? LOL. Happy Monday. Let's crush this week. Really rooting for your Abeloth theory. So sinister. Yeah, dude, that Abeloth theory is pretty cool. And we'll talk more about that tonight. But I think we're on, baby. I think we're on till the break of dawn. Jedi Jen says, speaking of Baldur's Gate, I am on my second playthrough. I love the strategy involved in the combat. Love how every decision has an impact. Great story, too. It's fantastic. Jedi Jen, I'm so happy for you. I'm happy you're enjoying the game. It's like one of the best games I've played in a long time. We found out last night, because my buddy's playing a bard, we found out that he can start playing his music in a room and distract all the NPCs, and I can go around and steal all their stuff while he's doing that. Bruh. What? Bruh. The game is so crazy. There's so much crazy stuff you can do. Oh my God. So good. Appreciate you. Zach says, if the books don't ship out next summer, I will likely be living in another state. Can I change my address on file after I move? Yes, so we did it so that there's an option to change your address. So at the time of shipping, if you're in a different spot, 100% you can change your address. No big deal. And you can always message me privately, either on the Kickstarter itself or through some other means, for sure. Prez says, just wanted to say your Ahsoka videos have been incredible. Some of your best work, and I noticed the numbers reflect that. Can't wait for Unity, brother. Nerd Vengers for life. Much love. Yeah, for sure. We've been having some great videos during the Ahsoka run, and I feel like I'm making really good content, and I feels like the fans are responding to it. You know, one of the things, and we'll talk more about this on Sunday for the Prime members, but one of the things that has happened on YouTube is that the audience can tell if it's a low-effort piece of content or if it's something special. So I just think that, like, kind of across the board on YouTube, the audience can tell if this is just low effort, like click and click off content, or if this feels like something more important. Yeah, so we'll talk more about that on Sunday, but that I do feel is a thing now. You know what I mean? But yes, thank you for the support. We've been doing some really good numbers on Ahsoka for sure. Smigglebop says, hey, so from what I heard, they need a minimum amount of writers. Would that mean we wouldn't get a show written by one person ever again? I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think you've ever seen a show that was written by a single person. I'm pretty damn sure there's a lot of writers, even somebody that's like claims to be the writer. Like, think about this. Lindelof had a writer's room for the new movie, but you damn sure it was going to say written by Damon Lindelof on there. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't know about that, bro. Gray Jedi says, Josh, your humor is great. Thank you so much. Sorry I swear so much, but yeah, I'd like to believe we have a good time over here. We have a lot of laughs, so thank you. Mr. Penguin says, I didn't watch the new indie movie. Is it any good? I have not watched it either, bro. I'm gonna be honest, I probably never will. I'm just not interested in it. Benjamin Reese says, I would like to be, hey Dave. I would be like, hey Dave, you are going to do 10 to 12 and unfuck the fuckery. Yeah, no, that would be cool. That's kind of where I'm at with it as well, bro. Thanks for the support. Mr. Penguin follows up and says, I feel bad for Mahershala Ali as he waited for his Eternals cameo just to wait 3 years of nothing. Oh yeah, absolutely. From what I understand, they gave him more money though. And they should, because dude, they did kind of screw him over a little bit, to be honest with you. Like Loki, he got a raw deal. So yeah, no, I hear you there. Jose says, your comic will be the first comic I read ever. P.S. It's definitely a doll. It's not a doll! It's not a doll! You know what? There were a couple people that told me Unity's gonna be the first comic they ever read, and I mean, like, I'm honored, and that's freaking fantastic. But my hope is that, number one, you really enjoy Unity, but also you enjoy good cartooning, and you enjoy comic storytelling, because there have been some legitimate, incredible stories done in comics, and the comic book medium is such a cool art form. And yeah, so I mean, if this is your gateway in, like, welcome, man. And I think you're gonna really like Unity, but I also think there's so many great books out there. There are stories that are told best in the comic book genre. So dive in, man. Dive in. Chillin' in the Basement says, yo, Josh and Nerd Vengers writers are practically back. Next, the actors and our nerdy content can start getting made. Called it ending in fall. You did call that. Thanks for the love, bruh. Adrian says, Dragon Ball Super Tournament of Power had the best fights ever. Peak anime. I mean, I really like those fights, but I don't know if I would say the best fights ever, bro. I mean, look, I don't even think Demon Slayer's all that, but you gotta give credit to Demon Slayer for the fights. We just binged the first season of Hell's Paradise. I had an argument with one of my buddies who's like a super big weeb, because I was like, dude, God's Paradise is better. God's Paradise is better than Demon Slayer. Yup. I said it. God's Paradise is better than Demon Slayer. And my buddy got all mad and he was like, that's not true, and like gave me all these things. But like the Tournament of Power was cool, bro. And I'm not even trying to be a dick, but like, if you only watch Dragon Ball, then you're kind of pedestrian when it comes to anime and manga. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but like, bro, just trust me. There's some incredible combat in some of these other animes. Leonard says, woke up and saw 37-month membership. Crazy how time flies. Congrats again on the book. Can't wait for my copy. Leonard, thank you so much, brother. And yeah, dude, I'm super hyped up for it. Like, when I was sitting down and talking to the team earlier today, it was so cool. I haven't been a part of a project like this in a long time. And, you know, look, we were all like in conversation during the Kickstarter and everything. And then we wrap it up. And like, you got to understand, like, it's dope for me. It's dope for y'all. But it's super dope for the team. Like, this is a big chunk of work for them. The colorist just got married. Okay? So, if we do this right, they have a big chunk of work for volume 1. But if we do this right, and this is why I keep saying to them, I'm like, yo, like, we've got to put out something absolutely incredible with volume 1. Because if we do volume 1 correctly, we could do volume 2, 3, 4, 5. This could be a huge chunk of work for them, and really good paying work for years and years and years. So, like, as long as we nail this, this is huge for the team. You know what I mean? So I'm super excited. And like this morning, as we were like going over everything and just getting excited about, you know, creating the thing, Like, guys, like, this is a super big deal. And, you know, I'm just very thankful. I'm very grateful that you guys are allowing us to do this. And we're going to make you guys look really smart because this shit's going to be fire. Benjamin says, I'm still trying to figure out why a multi-billion-dollar company can't come out with live-action Star Wars with more than 8 episodes while Netflix keeps cooking that fire with shows like The Witcher. Keep cooking that fire with shows like The Witcher. Yeah, I mean, there's a number of different ways that I could answer that. I think... I don't know. Like, I think when it comes to streaming, a lot of the rules go out the window. Meaning... when you make a show for like network television, and even like HBO did this, but you make a show for network television, you've got a built-in ad breaks. You've got to serialize the show in such a way that the story kind of takes place over time. Going into like HBO didn't think about that. They weren't thinking about odds. It's a little bit more of like pure art form. And then streaming kind of cracks that whole thing open. So you look at like Stranger Things, Cobra Kai, some of these other big hit streaming shows, the considerations are completely and totally different. But I would argue I'd rather have a season be 10 episodes than like 20 or 24. Because even though I love Daredevil and I love a lot of the old Marvel Netflix stuff, bro, episodes 10 to 20 blur. And it's like, it's not like poignant work. You know what I mean? The whole time. So I don't really know why they choose to tell it in 8. As opposed to 6, as opposed to whatever. I do think it would be cooler if it was a little bit more uniform. But at the end of the day, especially with Dave, I think he was just like, this is the story. You know? So, like, I definitely trust that Dave is just telling the story in those 8 episodes. So, John's Honest Take says, Unity Anime 2025, let's go. I mean, I'm super open to that. So my ultimate goal, which by the way, if you know an animator or if you're an animator yourself, like you should hit me up and we should talk, because my ultimate goal here, guys, would be to have Unity come out, either be a full-on anime or anime inspired. And when we get the first volume done, maybe then we get the first season of the anime done and it just tells the story of the first volume. Then right when that anime is done, volume 2 of the comic comes out so that fans that watch the anime can continue the story via the manga, which is like, that's a big thing in manga, is like the anime and the manga and the way they're released actually support each other. And that doesn't happen in the West at all. So that's the formula that I want to be, is like have them support each other. You know what I mean? And end up just being Unity. But we'll see. We'll see how it all goes, of course. Yeah. Yeah. All right, everybody. I got to get on out of here. Much love to you. Oh, I appreciate you. Look at this. 41% of you say yes. Almost 60% of you say you're not down for Dragon Ball Magic. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Yeah, 8 p.m. tonight, ladies and gentlemen. 8 p.m. tonight. Another big old stream. Talking all about Ahsoka tonight, baby. Yeah. As I always say, I hope you are having an awesome and a nerdy day. And I'll see you in the next video. Is everybody gone? Did everybody leave? That was a good one, but like my head was starting to get itchy. I was getting like itchy during that stream, and I was like trying not to itch, and it was throwing me off a little bit. So I was like, no, like I gotta make sure I'm making sense here. I don't know. Sinuses? What? Anyway, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Much love. Open up your third eye and wash out your stinky butthole.